Hey everybody, welcome back to Rubbin is Racing podcast brought to you by Cabo Wabo Tequila, the unquestionably Mexican tequila with the undeniably American attitude. And Cabo Wabo isn't just tequila, as you guys may know. It's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila, and it's the official tequila partner of NASCAR. So, at a bold splash to any race day watching with Cabo Wabo Tequila. And if you're heading to a race this weekend, celebrate race day with Cabo. But Cabo Wabo wants to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals. So please enjoy that thick cut, bold taste of Cabo Wabo tequila responsibly. Grab your buds and a bottle of Cabo Wabo tequila for the boldest race day experience, but you got to be 21 years and up, and you have to handle this stuff responsibly. Thank you so much, Cabo Wabo, for your continued support. Welcome back. So we're all remote today. Quiggs, where are you at?
I'm in my apartment.
Is somewhere in Illinois.
Kicked out of the office.
Moon, where are you?
North Carolina, like usual.
And Spider, you're...
I'm in Florida near Amelia Island, chilling on the beaches of Jacksonville. So the weather's nice down here. Although I hear a hurricane is coming, so I will be coming back to Chicago tomorrow.
It's been raining here every day too.
It's pissing here. I'm in London, so we're officially an international podcast, at least for today. Let's get right into it. This Corey LaJoie, Justin Haley thing. They swap rides for the rest of 24. Corey's now in the 51 for Rick Ware, and then Haley hops in the 7 for Spire. That's starting this week. There are rumors that LaJoie was also offered a top tier truck ride, but wanted to stay in Cup even with second tier equipment. Everyone kind of expected this, but I don't think many people expected it to happen in season. It's not the first time it's happened. It's happened a bunch of times, 2003 with Jeff Green and Steve Park, and a bunch of other times on all the series. But the difference here is that Justin Haley got a long-term, I think a 2-year deal with Spire, at least a 2-year deal. LaJoie hasn't been signed with Rick Ware yet. They're using the rest of the season as a feeler out type thing before they sign LaJoie, at least for next season and beyond. How do you guys feel about this? So we've been talking about Corey a lot on this podcast, how he's gotten actually better in the last 2 weeks, but yet he's always managed to kind of get himself in some negative headlines, crashing and shit like that. So this seems to be his trajectory for next season. How do we feel about what's going on with this?
I mean, it makes sense. If I were him, I'd want to stay in Cup too. You look at, if I were to guess, the top truck ride that he was offered would have been the same one that was promised to Ty Dillon last year. So I'm not super sure. I haven't heard much from Ty Dillon lighting it up in the truck world. That being said, it also sounds like Ty Dillon might be coming back to Cup next year. So failing upward situation. I'm not exactly sure. I do think the most interesting piece of the story, first of all, that it was a trade. That never happens in NASCAR. So I'm going to defer to Moonhead to speak about what that's like. But before I do, the most interesting piece that I found, and something you mentioned, Large, was that like basically the rest of this year is a tryout for Corey in that Rick Ware ride, which I thought was pretty interesting. It's not like definitely his. So it seems like Spire is like working overtime to become competitive, and every team is kind of following suit. Even Rick Ware is not committed to long-term commitments to any drivers. So I'm interested to see how the rest of the season plays out for Corey, who, as you said, Large, has turned it around a little bit despite there being casualties in the process. So
do you think that tryout's more of like a skill tryout or like a personality tryout?
Like part of me feels like more of the latter, Quiggs, only because you kind of know what you're getting. The guy has been in full-time Cup driver for like 7 years. I don't think the equipment at Rick Ware Racing is anything substantially better. If anything, it's worse than what he had at Spire. So part of me feels like, hey, we'll give him a test drive to see how he plays with our sponsors, our team, our crew chiefs, etc. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I'm not all that pessimistic, though. I feel like I could see Corey remaining in that ride next year.
Yeah, I do too.
I float something else is, just from the other side of the argument with this, or the other side of the trade with this, I should say, is Justin Haley that big of an upgrade? Do you guys, I wrote in the little script thing about how Justin's certainly younger. He's 25, where LaJoie is 32. So you can sort of build a team a little bit more around a 25-year-old kid. But is this a huge upgrade for Spire?
I think it is only because I think that, no offense to Corey LaJoy, Rodney Childers and him don't make sense together. That's like putting like, chrome rims on like a totaled car or something. I don't know, bad analogy, but you know what I'm saying. You want it's got to be cohesive, mesh. They have to mesh well. They have to play well together. And I think that Childers deserves a driver that is a little bit more competitive. And I see Justin Haley as that guy, especially with the 7 year edge in age in terms
Yeah.
of being younger. LaJoy has 7 more years of experience, I guess you could say. And I think they're pretty similar. Granted, they both race in kind of back marker equipment for the time being. It will be very interesting to see how Justin does next year. So I'm looking forward to that storyline.
And I just feel like the Corey LaJoy project at Spire kind of ran its course. Like they got the most out of it they could, and it was just time for a change of driver. And I think Haley will be good. He's young. They can build around him a little bit. I think it's a good move.
At some point, Quiggs, can you clip from this season all the time Spider and I apologized to Corey before we said something terrible about him?
Yeah,
Spider's
get
all
that
no
out.
disrespect to Corey, but we're putting good rims on a fucking jalopy. I think I've said we're putting lipstick on this pig. I think Moonhead said we're putting a fur coat on a piece of shit. Like we sort of we've been like inadvertently velvet hammers with this guy, but I is there a premium too to maybe going down and winning a bunch of races in trucks? He doesn't win in the cup level, and I don't think this is improving his, you know.
I almost don't think so, Large, because I don't know. To me, the guys that go down to Cup or go down to Xfinity or drop a level after making a Cup appearance are young kids. They're the John Hunter Nemecheks of the world that get to Cup early, have some setbacks, and then have to work their way up, and now they are back there. I think Corey probably has a little bit of the same opinion that I do. Whereas when you're that old, you're not really a prospect anymore. We know what you're capable of. So I understand his lack of desire to go down to even a top truck. Right? It could be the top truck in the field, and I would still be a little bit skeptical. So
And it's a double downgrade, right? Like it's not like Custer was younger when Custer went back down to
right,
Xfinity, he was 24, and
that's
it's worked
another good
out.
example.
Yeah, it's worked out swimmingly well for him. He's coming back to Stuart Haas family office, whatever the fuck they're calling it, where he probably won't be as competitive as he is in Xfinity this year. I don't know. I would like to see Corey get some place where he can kind of set a stack pennies, stack a couple of W's. I don't think he's going to be able to do it in RWR stuff. Moon, what do you think? You buying a Corey LaJoy t-shirt?
No, I
No offense, Corey, but we're not buying a t-shirt either.
I'm kind of on the fence because I feel like on one hand it's really good for him to stay in Cup and take this kind of tryout period with Rick Ware, but I also feel like he's kind of at the mercy of. I mean, Rick's got a son who races, or two sons who race, so I don't think he's gonna pick Corey over his kid. So I'm sure if one of the
Right.
kids want to run it, Corey's not gonna find himself in a full-time spot there. And then if you go down, you're on the risk of just ending up stuck there or being a flop in trucks, and then your career is really over if you can't even come down from Cup and win a truck race. But at the same time, back in the day, that was what made the truck series the truck series. There were a lot of guys who didn't really make it in Cup, like Todd Bodine or Mike Skinner, who were able to move down into the lower divisions and kind of revitalize their career and find a home somewhere where they could be a little bit more competitive and not, for whatever reason, maybe it was equipment, maybe they just didn't mesh well in Cup or whatever, but they went on and had long careers in the truck series, and really I feel like things worked out for him. Justin Allgaier in Xfinity, I mean, he had a brief stint in Cup in subpar equipment and made the move down, and now he's, I feel like looked at as one of the best, if not the best drivers in Xfinity. So I think there's pros and cons to both sides. On the Spire side of it, I think they came out good with the young guy, basically echo everything Spider said. And Haley, here lately has wrecked a lot less equipment than LaJoy. So I think Spire's coming out good. I think Corey's potentially coming out good, but there's going to be a lot of things probably out of his control that decide where he ends up.
So then, if you guys seem to be all in agreement that staying in Cup is better than going down to a competitive ride in trucks, which I know again is like a double demotion, then how do we feel about after 3 years and one win with Wood Brothers, Harrison Burton is moving down to Xfinity, to Wheel of 15 for AM Racing, Haley Deegan's old ride. Like, is this? I mean, it's obviously a downgrade, right? I mean, it's because he's going down. But I don't know. Do you think that Harrison Burton, because we've seen the number 15, we've seen that experiment. We saw Logano go down, do okay at Chicago, do okay other places. Josh Berry not really do that well. So I don't know. It's not like the Haley Deegan experiment has proven that Haley was the big problem here. So I don't know if Harrison Burton is definitely the answer when, kind of Joey Logano wasn't, kind of Josh Berry wasn't. How do you guys feel about this move for Harrison Burton? He seems relatively happy. I think this is the one that he was talking to us about, Spider, when we had him on. He's like, no, I'm going to be fine next year.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
Cup ride, but it's not.
That's why I disagree with you, Large, because I don't know. I think that he probably could have had a couple more options. And as he alluded to in our show, there was really only one that he entertained, and that was a team that he was in contact with before, after, and, in the process of getting his first Cup win. So I think it will be a good pairing. I think that team kind of needs some stability. I disagree with their, I would have let the Haley Deegan experiment run all the way out. I think commit to her for a full year and see what she's capable of. And you kind of mentioned Josh Berry and Joey Logano as experiments. I see them more as like a last minute kind of fill-in substitute driver, like a teacher getting the call hours before, hey, come up with a plan for what you're going to teach these kids today type shit. So yeah, I don't know. I think that Harrison will be a stable Ford driver that they can build with for the whole year, and I think that one I feel a lot better about there being a lasting relationship as opposed to LaJoy with Rick Ware Racing, which, as Moonhead said, there's plenty of nepotism going on over there, and I don't know. There's a lot of baggage as well. I'll leave it at that. But
whether he'll be able to with that equipment or not, I don't know. But it could. I mean, I think it could be a great move for Harrison to where if he goes down, wins a race or two, like looks really good, the narrative on him that next year will be a guy who made the playoffs a year before, got sent down, was pretty good in Xfinity, and like could maybe fail his way upwards a little bit back in the Cup to like a better ride than he would get now. So I don't know. It feels like a much better move than if LaJoy was to go down all the way to trucks.
But would he be as competitive next season? I mean, I think that he should be driving the 15 for the rest of this season, just because of what we're seeing what Rick Ware is doing. But I don't see any Cup drivers really pulling double duty this week in Kansas. So maybe he'll hop in the 15 somewhere down the road before the season ends. But do you think that in AM Racing's car that Harrison Burton is going to be able to even come close to? I'll go back to Cole Custer, a guy who got washed out, came down, dominated, and now he's going back up, right, with his dad. Will Harrison Burton have that same? Like, how successful can he be in the 15 car?
I don't think so, but I think any success he has, you can credit directly to him. So, any ounce of success that he has, I think you're not going to be like it's a manufacturer thing, it's equipment thing. It's going to be he'll get all the flowers for what he does. So, yeah, maybe it'll be an absolute disaster and he can't do anything because his car is so bad. But if he does manage to get some really good finishes, I think you can put a lot of that on him. So it's an opportunity for him to show off a little bit.
And I guess he's got something to blame too. I'm in this fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Moon, you like it or no?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the team needs a solid like guy that they can build around. Obviously, I think there's been instability with the team all year with them kind of rotating drivers after firing Deegan. And I think the team's kind of been broken even before they got rid of Deegan. I mean, if Joey Logano can't get in there and compete, I feel like something's amiss. So I think if they could take Harrison, who seems to be a guy who's pretty good with feedback and pretty good with like communicating and being a team player, I think if they, get the right people around him, maybe make some changes on the personnel side, they could probably get that team into something that's competitive every week. I don't know if they'll be competing with, JRM or Gibbs or what kind of manufacturer support they'll have next year. But I mean, it seems like probably the best option for him. I don't know of any better rides that were open or calling his name.
So what's the best move then, in your opinion, Moonhead? Nick Sanchez replacing Parker Kligerman in the 48 in 2025, right? Sanchez had 2 wins in trucks and top 5 in points, so he's moving over into Parker. Parker says he doesn't want to be full time anymore. Then you have the Corey LaJoie move. Then you have the Justin Haley move, and you have the Harrison Burton move. How do you rank those?
I would have to guess the most money's probably behind the Sanchez one. So I think that should on paper be the most successful. And just judging how that car's run with Parker, Sanchez has big shoes to fill, but he's one in trucks, one in ARCA. He's not a bad driver. He hasn't given us a reason to think that. I think Harrison, that could be something good as far as turning the team around. I wouldn't expect the same level of success, but he's won in Xfinity before, and I think, like I said, they're probably just a few changes away from being able to be more competitive as a team. And then LaJoie, I feel like that's probably going to be ranked number 3, but it has potential to be the best comeback story out of all of them, because if LaJoie comes back and really puts together some good runs here into this year, and Rick just decides to bring him back next year, that team hasn't exactly run like shit this year like we're accustomed to seeing them do. So I feel like it could potentially end up being a situation where I don't know if he fell upwards, but could have even been a lateral move by the time we see how they're running next year. So I think as far as right out of the gate, Sanchez is probably going to be the one who has the earliest success.
Spider, you're a fan of Sanchez, right? Like we watched him win when we were where were we? We were in Daytona at the hangar, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I've been a big Nick Sanchez fan. I shouldn't say big. I'm as big of a Nick Sanchez fan as one can be when watching the races. And I like this move. Unfortunately, I liked rooting for Parker Kligerman as a kid from Connecticut. I loved rooting for him. That's another driver, unfortunately, that will now be retired. But I also think the future is bright for Parker, which is why I'm equally as excited for him. I think he's got a great future ahead of him in TV. He does a great job on coverage, pit reporting, as we've seen, and hopefully we can see more of that. I'm also excited for the truck race next year to be racing at Lime Rock Park again in the state of Connecticut, a track that Parker holds an ownership stake in. So hopefully we can get up to that and have a nice little homecoming. But I don't know. It's a win-win for me. Nick Sanchez gets promoted. Parker Kligerman will hopefully have some more screen time as well as more time for his, business ventures that are motorsport adjacent, i.e. Lime Rock Park. So I'm excited.
But Parker's not even 35. Like he's a 34-year-old dude. It just seems like he just kind of had enough. But
I think he's got a good opportunity before him in media, and I'm not. That's me speaking. I don't have any evidence to support that, but I think he's just as good of a prospect on TV as he would ever be on the track. So I think he had to make a business decision, and he's a guy that seems to have his hand in a lot of different things, whether it be track ownership, like I mentioned, or driving, as we see on any given weekend. So I'm sure he will still remain active. In some capacity, and I'm kind of excited to see where it is. And yeah, Large, you're right. 35, like he probably could still continue to race, but I think I don't know. The money talks, as Moonhead said. There's probably the biggest money move, and Parker has alternative streams of income, so he's going to be just fine.
Um, Quick, you about to say something?
No, I kind of agree with them.
Yeah. So the other one is that Bubba resigned with 2311 through 2026, which made a bunch of racist people just furious. But it was kind of expected, so no surprise there. So we're going to see first race of the year, Bubba, Tyler Reddick, Riley Herbst in their lineup, and with Martin, right, racing for them in Daytona. They went around before the race. I don't know if you guys had seen it. They interviewed a couple of drivers. How often do you think you'll see Martin Truex next year? And Chase Elliott's like, I don't think I will at all. And Daniel Suarez like, I actually never spoke to Martin. Like, and it's the same thing. He's for people who wonder whether or not that's like a thing that he puts on. When we had our party at the Nashville bar, he came up, said hello to everybody, and then quietly went to the downstairs bar and just had a couple of drinks, with a friend, and then kind of buzzed out of there. Very, very quiet. So you're saying like Parker Kligerman is the exact opposite, right? He's going to try and jump in front, get as much mic time because he is good on the mic. I agree with you 100%. But
Yeah,
do you think like Martin Truex at the end of that, as everyone was saying, oh shit, we're never going to see Martin again. One guy was like, we'll only see him at racetracks that have fishing, so like Lake Lloyd and shit like that. And Martin's like, yeah, I'll probably do 5 or 6, otherwise you won't see me anymore. So that's a total walk away for a future Hall of Fame driver. It's just almost the exact opposite of what Parker's doing. Do we know anything about this? What's going on with Trackhouse with Ty Norris leaving? Is that
no,
great move for Colic, right? I mean, the getting guy did a pretty good job at Trackhouse.
yeah. It seems like my initial take from this is just it seems like a loss for Trackhouse. I don't know whose decision it was, but I think Ty Norris is an asset. He's made a career off proving that for numerous teams across NASCAR. Um, and I liked what Trackhouse was doing. They seemed to be kind of disrupting and building something new and fresh that other teams were kind of following, a traditional structured playbook. They threw all that out and were doing it their own way, which I was kind of intrigued by. And not to say that that's going to go away, but I do credit Ty Norris with a lot of that kind of change. So I don't know. I think it's a loss for them, and hopefully Colleague becomes a little bit more competitive, which, to be honest, I'm not super bullish on, but it is a good addition for their team nonetheless.
Yeah. It was also Zach Brown, CEO of McLaren, not Bree's boyfriend, was on Harvick's pod saying Larson will wind up driving in an F1 race eventually. This is the quote: I'd love to see Kyle in an F1 car. It's something we've discussed and something I think will happen down the road. And then Larson said, yeah, that's something that I know there's a certain amount of points that a driver has to have in order to be eligible, but they say they might be able to bend that a little bit in order to get Larson on there. At what point does this stop? At what point do I not come in every week and be like, Kyle Larson is going to be an ice road trucker for 6 weeks, in 2026? Like, where's the fucking line where NASCAR says, get off the dirt, get off of IndyCar, get off of F1, and just concentrate on dominating fucking races like Bristol and pissing everybody off, right?
I'll tell you what, Large, I think we're going to get to that discussion's only going to become more loud and loud if Larson continues to be successful in this playoff season right here before us we're in the midst of, especially if he lifts the Bill France trophy at the end of the year. I think a lot of people, maybe not right away, but I'm of the opinion that Larson will kind of do as you said and try to do more dirt races, do IndyCar again, maybe do an F1 race. So, especially if he has 2 NASCAR Cup Series championships under his belt, like what else is left for him to prove? Not to say he would just walk away and retire, but I do think Kyle Larson is the kind of guy that has aspirations to prove his talent in a myriad of different racing disciplines, not just NASCAR. So, I don't know. As much as I'm rooting for him this year, I do remain of the opinion that it's probably bad in the long term if he continues to be as dominant as what we saw on Sunday, particularly
Maybe he does retire,
Saturday.
like not retire from racing, obviously, but just moves on and says, "Listen, I'm putting together wins where P2 was half a track behind me at Bristol, Chase Elliott, and I'm going to take my talents to F1. I think that's going to be a huge blow for fucking NASCAR, and they're going to wind up being, like the people that built the guillotine. They're like, all right, we're done with it. It's like, okay, put your fucking neck in it. Like NASCAR has given him all this stuff to do, and he's a fucking cash cow. Because you win 2 Cup Series championships, you moonwalk into the fucking Hall of Fame, right? I mean, the guy is, he's NASCAR Jesus. So I don't know. You think so? Like, Quigs, is there a chance that Kyle Larson in 3 years is no longer in the Cup Series? Has 2 Cup Series championships, and now he's just over there competing with Max Verstappen every week.
Kinda, which it's people like me's fault who are like, oh yeah, you should run Indy, and
Dick.
that looks like it could turn into like him running Indy again, being super successful, then being like, we need him to get him in F1. He finds some success in that, and then that turns into an opportunity for him to maybe race F1. If he was like remotely competitive in that, I think people would freak out and be like, he's barely ever driven cars like this, and he's better than half the drivers in the field. And you get an F1 offer, that's so much money. So I think that's a little bit of a fairy tale, but like one that could happen. And yeah, I don't think he's like looking to get out of NASCAR, but he loves racing. He loves challenging himself. And if he could do both of those with a $50 million a year paycheck from F1, I don't think he'd be saying no to that.
It's the easiest fucking thing in the world. Unless he hates money, Kyle Larson will not be a Cup driver in 3 years.
Also, I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind.
Moon, can he leave, or is that something? I'm
So-
trying to make that. I'm trying to draw that narrative more than more people.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll retire sooner than a lot of people would think. I don't think it'll be that soon. I feel like F1, they make it so hard to get in F1. I don't know that he could really find himself actually racing in F1, even if he wanted to. I'm sure, I mean, I know McLaren likes him. I'm sure he'll get to do like a ride swap deal or something, kind of like we saw back in the day with Hamilton and Stewart, Montoya and Gordon. But I was actually having this talk with somebody the other day, Large. I could totally see Larson being the type of dude who maybe if Hendrick goes through a period of time where they're not so great and his contract's up, I could totally see him walking away early, not to quit racing in general, but to just go race whatever the hell he wants, whenever he wants. Not saying he'd disappear from NASCAR even forever, but I feel like he's got a lot of unfinished business and a lot of things that he can't do as a full-time NASCAR driver that he's going to want to do one day, and he's probably going to want to do it before he's old. So I don't think it'll be 3 years, but I could definitely see him hanging it up a little earlier than what people would generally expect.
And I've mentioned ages so many times. LaJoie's 35, Kligerman's 34, Larson's 32, right? Like Denny Hamlin is still operating at a very high level, and Denny's going to be 44 next month, or in November or something. So yeah, he's got a lot of wood to chop. I don't think he's ever going to stop driving. I could see Kyle Larson, 87 years old in an old age home, racing guys on fucking those little scooters. Racing me on one of those scooters to be a little bit more specific. But I don't know. I just think that we're sort of we're signing our own death certificate. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem, the governing body for F1, said he wants to cut down on drivers cursing over the radio. Imagine fucking someone from NASCAR says that. That is so fun. If you want a reason to not like F1, they are absolute fucking baby shit. They bleep it out on the broadcast just like they do in NASCAR too. So I just want Kyle Larson to know I'm sending that out to you. If you do leave us for F1, you're going over to race with a bunch of fucking pussies.
Get back on your bullshit too, and drop every swear on the mic. Just to fuck F1 over.
I don't think I like want to see a driver's mic. Like, I don't want them to cut to that unless they're cussing.
Yeah.
Like any other time is pretty boring unless they're just mad.
And I don't mind the beeps. Like
the beeps are fine.
Yeah. Who was it the other day? Blaney, the golden boy. He can go beep him, fucking beep. I love that shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick break right here, and we're going to talk about Vanderhagen. Quigs and Spider filmed a very, very good short. It's somewhere on our social pages.
Not yet. I think it will be in 2 days.
Okay, so it's going to come up. They had worked. I don't know if you guys know this. When we throw out these little like videos, these ads, the back and forth. I was lucky enough to not be in that one because it was shot in the Chicago office. So I was able to just ignore those emails. But holy shit, the amount of hoops you got to jump through all the time is crazy. But anyway, so it's going to be something good. Until then, I'm going to just do the read. Make the switch from cartridge razor to a safety razor today with Vanderhagen. Safety razors allow you to get a closer, more comfortable shave. The use of one blade razors helps prevent nicks and cuts while making your skin feel smoother than ever. And the best part, these blades cost as little as $1 a piece and last anywhere from 3 to 5 shaves. This will save you thousands of dollars over the years compared to the cost of cartridge razors. I had to buy a razor the other day. I filmed something where I had to shave the Canelo tattoo, and I bought like a ladies' razor. They're very, very fucking expensive. I haven't bought a razor in ages. A ladies' razor is very expensive. Maybe get one of these for the wife. Ready to step up your shaving game? Get the smoothest, closest shave with our single blade and shave butter combo. Say goodbye to nicks and irritation and hello to a shave that's almost too smooth to handle. Get a shave so smooth that you come with a warning. Perfectly close, incredibly soft. This is how real men like Spider shave. Spider, was a good shave?
Oh yeah, it's the best shave. It's
Yeah.
the best shave. And no spoilers, but watch the video. It's fun.
Yeah, and the dude who lined you up was awesome.
I said no spoilers, Larch.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, he was topless. Check out your local Target or Walmart and get yourself a Vanderhagen safety razor. And if you're serious about your grooming game, hit the follow button at Vanderhagen. Stay in the loop with the latest shaving tips, product drops, and exclusive giveaways. Whether you're mastering the art of the close shave or just looking to keep it fresh, our Instagram, Vanderhagen's Instagram at Vanderhagen, is where the best in men's grooming comes to life. Join the community, level up your shave, keep your style sharp. That's Vanderhagen. Follow them on Instagram. Go buy them at Target and at Walmart. All right, moving on. We'll move on to this week. We do like that Nobody's Cooler segment. I almost wanted to dupe it and have that guy Lane Riggs. Lane Riggs is a non-playoff driver. He wins another race. So that's 4 top 5s in a row, including back-to-back wins for Front Row. This time he did it at Milwaukee. He did it at Bristol, excuse me. He popped his shoulder out when he was celebrating at Milwaukee. So the kid continues to have success, Lane Riggs. So we're going to have him on the show at some point. Over in Xfinity, the whole world was talking about Dale Jr. being in his car, and the fucking thing fell apart. Did you guys see any of that? Like, I've never seen so many little things fucking go wrong. It reminds me of me because I'm old, like trying to use an app and having my kids over my, like, he's like, hand me my glasses, speak lower because it fell. And you know what I mean? He reminds me of like an old guy who types in all caps. What the fuck happened with it? And then he stays on the track till 2:00 in the morning, just ripping beers. Dale Jr. is the fucking greatest guy alive right now. Is there anything wrong? Can Moonhead say something bad about Dale Jr.? Can you?
Oh, I can't.
Spider, say something wrong about this fucking guy.
He's not racing next year. I got an issue with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't fit my fat ass in a car. But I mean, there's nothing bad to say about him. And it's racing is better whenever this guy fucking touches anything. And Door Bumper Clear obviously is on Dirty Mo Media and whatnot. TJ was his spotter, couldn't even fucking talk to him because his radio was dead and everything. Why? Is there a reason why he just doesn't? Did he say he doesn't want to do it? What's the deal with Dale not doing it anymore? Or is it smoke and mirrors and he is going to do it again, come out of this retirement?
He said that he was going to do it again, just not next year because he really wants to deliver for the new broadcast partners and really make sure that he's in a good spot for his broadcast opportunity, which I respect. But at the same time, I think you can swing both, Dale Jr.
I think it adds to the broadcast, right? Like, remember when Harvick all of a sudden had to do a fill-in duty for? Did he? No. Harvick jumped in for somebody
Larson.
when he was supposed. Was it Larson, right?
At the All-Star race this year, while Larson was in Indy, he jumped in.
Yeah, and I thought that like sort of made the broadcast a little bit better. Like, hey, one of our guys is going to be jumping in. I thought it was cool. So I'm hoping that he's not done. I'm hoping he's just like one of these boxers who has like multiple retirements and comes out. But congratulations to Dale.
Are we talking about him racing full time again, or
just
doing more like random spots?
Oh yeah, he's never going to.
I was going to say this is crazy.
I think he holds a record. He started at least one race in one of NASCAR's three top series every year since 1996, which I think next year would be the first year that the streak is broken. So I don't know. Reconsider.
Yeah, 50-year-old guy. He's not that old, Quiggs. Sure.
Old.
Cole Custer wins the Xfinity race and the regular season championship. I know he's moving up. Do you guys think he should? Like, he has no choice. It was an offer he couldn't refuse, right? It's his dad now and all that shit. But what are you expecting from Cole next year? And I guess I don't see the premium still of leaving some place where you're pretty successful and going to some place where you're not going to be as successful, almost guaranteed. Is it a
I
good
just
move for him?
I just think Xfinity will always be there for him. Like I don't think he'll have any issue if this year's a disaster in Cup, like going back down and getting a good ride in Xfinity. So why wouldn't you
Yeah.
give it a shot?
Is he going to be competitive next year?
Probably not.
I don't know. I'm interested to see how that team performs. Part of me feels like they could turn some heads and surprise some people. Part of me feels like there's no reason for me to believe that that is going to be the case. So I don't know. I think it will be a kind of welcome storyline that we have to follow next year. But in terms of expectations, I really have none. I don't think he'll be much of a factor.
Yeah. Let's get to the Cup race. The first thing that happened was a bunch of kids that sang the anthem, the Motor Racing Outreach Kids program. So it was a bunch of drivers, kids, and stuff. They sang the national anthem. I didn't think they sounded that great. They were a little pitchy, to be honest. I mean, it's fine, whatever. But all the parents are pretty fucking crazy about it. Drivers get to pick their walkout songs at Bristol. And did you see what Austin Dillon picked?
No,
No,
Move Bitch by Ludacris.
that's perfect.
Fucking
that
wild,
rocks.
right? And every other thing, like when they do X is going to give it to you, they started playing that for True X. Like True X is going to give it. He doesn't know fucking. I don't know, but I thought that was very, very good that Austin Dillon picked that. Alex Bowman picked up his first pole of 2024, and then all the Penske cars conversely started 20th or worse. And at the end of the day, we have Ty Gibbs, Marty Truex, Red Keselowski, and Harrison Burton all knocked out with Briscoe and Suarez right above the cut line. I went back to see what we had called as far as who we thought were going to be knocked out. And I'm going to ask you guys to do the same thing in a couple of minutes right now. But let's talk about the race itself. Does everybody not enjoy that race? Before I looked at social media, because I had just gotten in from Vegas, so I watched it on tape that night, Saturday night. I was like, that was fucking not as enjoyable. So I didn't feel like I was being a lemming by complaining about it. And Jeff Gluck's poll, only 27% of the people said that they had liked this thing. Are we all in agreement that this wasn't a very good race?
Yeah,
I liked it, but I think that's only because
you
my
have the
Kyle
winner.
Larson pick won. Yeah.
It's a great gambling race if you have Larson.
Right. We get a couple of those races a year where they just feel like very predictable. As much as I don't know, but I can't be overly critical of this race. I've said just as recently as like 2 weeks ago, how many photo finishes, how many last lap lead changes have we had, or that we've been spoiled top to bottom. So I think it's kind of unfortunate we got kind of a disappointing race, but at the same time, it's still very encouraged by what we've seen this season. And I was happy with the result. I wouldn't say as much the race itself. Bristol Night Race is awesome. I think it's like a premier event, and I wish the racing kind of had it matched the hype level, but it really didn't. So I don't know what can be done. Probably tires or more horsepower. It seems like NASCAR is saying tires and the drivers are saying more power. So I don't really know, but I do think that they should maybe look into changing something.
Spider, you're relatively positive on it. Again, like you said, when you win a bet, it makes you positive on it. Moonhead, are you furious? Were you furious with this race? I mean, this was
Yeah.
it's little baby, all that shit. If this wasn't a playoff race, like Lee Diffie got on there saying, "I've never been to the Coliseum. My eyes saw this for the free." He was like the dad and Rudy. He was like, "This is the most majestic thing I ever seen." And at the end of the race, he's like, "Let's get the fuck out of here," in a very cute accent. What's your take on it? You have to be angry, correct?
Oh yeah, I'm pissed. The spring was so good that, I mean, look at the crowd. The place was packed. The hype around it was hype I haven't felt around Bristol in a long time, and then the race absolutely sucked. So I don't know. They said they brought the same tire. I don't know if the teams got better, if the temperature changed, or
They did
I
not.
don't buy it. There was either I if they brought the same tire, they really screwed up in the spring, because something major was different. But there's people a lot smarter than me who are dealing with all that. Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I feel like everybody's kind of beat it to death. The race absolutely sucked. The thing, honestly, I'm most mad about. Y'all know I love Kyle Larson, but he tweeted probably the worst tweet in the history of NASCAR drivers tweeting, by saying led 450 laps but have 2 overtime restarts and lose, and I guarantee the percentage is flip flop. That's our fan base. He was responding to Jeff Gluck's poll. I hope they boo him out of Kansas. Like, I hope when he goes through driver intros on Sunday, he gets booed so much he just hops on the plane and flies back to North Carolina, because that's the worst thing a NASCAR driver's ever tweeted. And I'm sure there's been stuff people have had to apologize for, and it wasn't even close to this. It's the second worst thing Kyle Larson's ever said. I'll go on record and say it.
I gotta be honest. I don't think he's wrong.
You know, but
That's what, like,
he
those
is
polls. He's
fucking wrong. Everybody who's commented on this, and again, we're taping on Tuesday. We don't drop till Thursday, so I know everyone's talked about this. Everyone who's commented on the quality of this race starts it with that fucking kiss the ring. Kyle Larson put on a masterclass, and we were honored to watch him do his thing. But there were 8 total lead changes, 4 different leaders, 10 cars only on the lead lap, a 7.1 second margin of victory. We got this erection inducing fucking race in the spring with these wacky tires that they said were coming back. Teams set up their cars for these tires. Maybe Larson's team knew enough not to, and that made the difference. Otherwise, everyone's like, how the fuck did he cheat this time? And I know he wasn't cheating or anything. I'm not implying that. But so everyone showed the proper respect. You can still win a race and do something generational, all that shit, and it still be a fucking crappy race. I think he sounds like a baby when he does that.
I think if they go to OT, Chase Elliott gets to his bumper, takes the win from him. I think that poll is 70-80%. Whether it should be or not, I think it is.
I agree with the who wins makes a difference. And I do think that if Elliott stole the win or something, it would have jumped considerably. But I mean, a week ago, we were talking about, everybody on Twitter was saying we should just abolish overtime because overtime ruins the integrity of the races. I have a hard time believing if that race, after Larson kicked their ass for that long, went to 2 overtimes and he lost, I feel like the percentage still would have been low, but the argument would have been, oh, NASCAR's a joke, it's a show, it's a circus, this guy dominated the race and doesn't win because of overtime. So I think it was just ignorant. I think when you kick their ass like that, you should just kick their ass like that, brag about kicking their ass like that. Don't attack the fan base because they thought the race sucked. It sucked for more reasons than just him kicking their ass. I've seen plenty of people dominate races before and the racing from second on back be great. And typically, yeah, you'll have people who don't like whoever won who are mad, or people who lost money who are mad. But for the most part, they'll still acknowledge that the race is good. This race sucked from first to last. I mean, the only thing excited about it was Bilicki in the Arby's car getting in everybody's way every 8 laps. I mean, that was the only thing that spiced it up.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I think that, I mean, Larson, like, he shouldn't be. I disagree with him calling out the fans. I think that's stupid. But also, I think he's kind of foolish for taking it personally. If you look at the race stats and how people voted, I don't think that's because. And sure, I mean, I agree with you guys to a certain extent that the winner of the race does, impact what the results are. However, I don't think that substantially. I think that Larson kind of like took it personally that people were disappointed with the race when it really wasn't his fault. To me, he should have done what Moon had said and just kind of taken credit for the dominant win, credited his pit crew guys who were flawless all night, credit the team, and just move on. Instead, now he's just like kind of started like a little discussion that's unnecessary in the midst of his second championship pursuit. And I also think NASCAR fans, I kind of agree with Larson a little bit, and I've said it before. They're historically consistently bitching about something. And I think if you're a NASCAR driver, it is not like out of your bag to call them out. However, you have to choose your battles. For this to be the thing that Larson like gets into it with the fans about, I don't think is smart. Like, where was he when he was getting dragged during, participating in an IndyCar race? The guy didn't say a word, stick up for himself. Like, I don't know. I just think that you gotta pick your spots. And after winning a race in dominant fashion, I don't think this was really necessary or a good move.
Oh, it almost shocked me. Like I was like, someone must have grabbed his fucking account and typed that out, because that's
Yeah.
what I was like. Shut the fuck up, you know. And with that, we're about to go three wide with Kyle Larson. Kyle, how you doing? Imagine that three wide at the let shit. Three wide with Carson, with Kyle Larson and Corey LaJoy. Um, yeah, do you think that Jeff Gluck's, like I mentioned it, so Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi do the Teardown podcast. They're always the first to market. I think they record that night right after the race. So his poll now has been used by everybody. Everyone talks about the poll. You think the poll skewed? Like this one did very poor. I mean, it ranks last out of 19 Bristol races with the dirt races included. Um, it's lower than the All Star race. It's lower than the any night race. It ranks 55 out of 56 short track races since this poll started. You think the poll is getting skewed? Like there's so much negative. Like Spider says, beat around the bush a little bit. NASCAR guys on Twitter, where this poll goes on, are typically real cunts, right? Like they're always just looking for something to bitch about. Like at times I'm questioning the manhood of a lot of these guys who are behind the fucking keyboards. So is Jeff Gluck's poll giving those mewling quims, those whiny cunts, like a voice to that's picked up now because we're talking about it. Obviously, the Teardown talked about it. Everybody else is talking about it. Should we start a poll since it's like grassroots type thing, just better people? You know what I mean? Like, is this poll fucking starting to become useless?
It's
You can say that, but
it's not use like we're talking about just the poll in general or the poll
yeah,
for
like
this race.
is it giving people? I like this. I like reading it. I love when Hosavar would comment every week as like some just general guy calling in. Just comment underneath it. He did it for a couple. I don't know if he's still doing it, but a couple of guys have commented on it. And then obviously Larson's paying attention to it because he
Yeah.
got all in his fucking feels. Led 450, but two overtime restarts. I guarantee the flip. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think the poll is valuable. Just like from a like people aren't lying on the poll. They're voting whether they thought it was a good race or not. And it's just like different people with different things that they expect out of a race. And like, I don't know, somebody who's been watching NASCAR for 50 years has a better definition of like what a good race is than somebody I'm showing their first ever race to. And I don't know. I think the poll is what the poll is, and it's a representation of what people thought about the race. But um, I don't know. I don't think it means too much. I think it's just something that's caught a lot of steam, and people like to analyze once it's done whether or not the poll matches what they thought of the race.
You're
I
probably
think
Moonhead. Yes or no? Did you like the race? No.
No, absolutely not.
I wasn't a fan. I would have voted no. Quigs, you would have voted.
I would have voted no, and I think a lot of it is because we have another Bristol race to compare it against,
Yeah,
and
it's a tough comp. It is, but
when you see it compared to some of the cool changes they made in the last one, and they just got rid of those, essentially, it makes it so that you can't be like that. I don't know. It just was not the race they could have put on. I feel like
That
Spike,
should have
yes, even though it wouldn't have been an overly enthusiastic yes, like best race ever. So I guess the poll isn't bad because it's four of us. 27% said no, 5% of us did. So I guess I am kind of barking up the wrong tree. What were you going to say, Moonhead?
I feel like that could have been the Larson tweet, even like if he would have just drawn the comparison between the chaos of the spring versus it not happening in the fall. I feel like that would have been, because I feel like that definitely played a role. I do, as bad as that race was, I don't know that it really should rank as low on the all-time bad race list as it does. I think it having, if we go to a place like a I'm not going to throw any tracks under the bus, but a historically boring track, we could probably all think of one. The poll's probably going to be a little higher than 27% saying yes. And I think Bristol being such a barn burner in the spring is kind of hurting them when it wasn't as exciting in the fall.
Who are we blaming? Are we blaming NASCAR or are we blaming Goodyear? Because we're not blaming Kyle Larson. By the way, nobody's blaming Kyle Larson. Congratulations. I think guy's a fucking stud. But if this keeps going on, then Bristol's spring race is going to seem like an anomaly. And it's Bristol, baby, being a fucking coliseum is going to seem like something that doesn't happen anymore. Because I'm telling you right now, people are like, yeah, Bristol suck. I can't wait to get to Kansas. Because Kansas was fucking, Kansas has turned its whole, identity around being a very fun race to watch, where it used to be unbearable. So they need to do something to this because people were talking about should Bristol be considered a crown jewel? Should they add that to the list with the Daytona 500, the Coke 600, the Brickyard, and the Southern 500? I mean, people talk about it all the time, and then after that race, no fucking way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bat an eye if they swap Bristol in there for Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think that'd be the right move.
But NASCAR, if they're going to do that, then they have to do something to make that race consistently wonderful, right?
Which
I feel like Indy sucks.
What's that?
Indy sucks. That was kind of my whole argument with the crown jewel thing earlier in the summer. I feel like personally, I feel like if Indy's won, the night race should be one just because of the history it has in NASCAR. And I trust everybody and their brother on Twitter told me when I said Indy was boring and shouldn't be a crown jewel, they said that it doesn't matter that it's boring and that it's about the history. So I think that it could still be a crown jewel. But I mean, yeah, they need to do something, I feel like, because you don't want the stands empty. You don't want people turning on Bristol, which has happened before. I mean, they ruined the place back in like 06 or 07 when they added progressive banking.
Should they go back to dirt?
No.
It's not gotten that bad. I hear you. So we're going to sum up Bristol. Denny's in. So Denny did a masterclass. He did exactly what he has to do to get in. Ty Gibbs is out. Suarez finished 4 laps down, but survived because of how well he did in the first 2 rounds. We'd mentioned last week that Suarez had the best average finish in the first 2 rounds of the round of 16 of any playoff driver, and that's the only thing that saved him this time. But I will tell you what would have saved this race in a heartbeat if Ty Gibbs would have hooked fucking Daniel Suarez and put him into the wall and then became a playoff driver. However much that would have turned the whole thing around. Everyone would have been talking about it. I mean, Ty was visibly upset. Marty was too, because, 2 Joe Gibbs racers are now no longer in the playoffs, and both of them seem to have sealed their fate with speeding penalties. So it seemed like there was just a lot of fucking sad sacks within Joe Gibbs on Saturday night going into the weekend. I have one question for you guys before we move on into the preview. William Byron, at the beginning of this year, it's all I spoke about. Like, I've loaded up on my futures with him. He's now, I think, if you look at NASCAR Cup futures, I think he's like the 6th.
He's more than, he's 8-1.
Right, but is there like 5 drivers ahead?
Oh, yeah.
Larson, maybe Reddick, Denny. You know what I mean? Like
Bell and Blaney are all ahead of him.
Yeah, like is Byron going to look unbeatable again? He was the first driver we spoke to, Spider, who said, "I hate how long this season is. It's really tough to keep this competitive stance as we go through those long summer months." And you sort of are seeing it. Will you guys be betting William Byron again?
I'm not sure. I already have some outstanding Cup Series futures on him to win the championship. All season, Byron and Larson have been my guys. Uh, and now that he's 8-1, who knows? Maybe I'll double dip. But at this point, I think I'm just going to hold on to the tickets that I have. I wish I got him 8-1 on all those, but he was a little bit less odds. But I'm going to stick with him. I was with him earlier in the season. I'm not saying he's going to go win the championship. I would love it, but I think he has more than what we've seen. So I don't expect him to be out in this next time by.
Would you give him a sniff this weekend in Kansas?
Probably not. I think it will probably be the usual suspects, i.e., Larson and Denny. But I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Well, he's 14-1 at Kansas this week. I don't know. Kansas has also had some pretty
Yeah.
long odd winners from my experience. So I don't know. We'll see.
Let's talk about it.
Okay,
So,
maybe I will, Adam.
yeah, I mean, he's already on my ticket. That's why I was kind of leading into it. Race 4 of the 24 playoffs, race 1 of 3 in the round of 12. It's the Hollywood Casino 400 from Kansas Speedway. It's Sunday, September 29th, 3 p.m. on USA. 267 laps on a mile and a half track. Reddick is the returning champ. Joey Logano has won here 3 times. He's the only active driver with multiple wins here. And everyone's racing this weekend. The Kubota Tractor 200 is Friday at 8:30 p.m. on FS1. And then Xfinity. Everybody remember, Xfinity has switched over to the CW. Xfinity is Saturday at Kansas Speedway 300 at 4 p.m. on the CW. The only thing that I've seen out of that race, we haven't seen any paint schemes yet, except for Stone Cold. Cole Custard is rocking the NXT on CW paint scheme with a bunch of wrestlers and shit on it, which looks awesome. So we're now in the round of 12. And so what do we have for the round of 12? We have Kansas, then we have Talladega, and then we have the Roval,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So our first round picks, Spider chose Bowman, Suarez, Cindric, and Burton, which, they were the bottom of the pack. Burton is gone. Both Moonhead and I chose Burton and Truex. And then I probably won because I also had Daniel Suarez and Moonhead had Alex Bowman, who's doing a lot better. So I had like more of a bottom of the barrel type losers type shit. But I'm going to ask you guys now, who do you think gets knocked out since we're just on the cusp of starting this round of 12? Who doesn't make it to the round of 8? And again, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Bowman, and Briscoe are all outperformed in the round of 16, but they're all hanging around the bottom here in the round of 8. Who do you think does not make it? I'm going to take your 4 now, Spider, if you have it.
Yeah, I'm going to go chalky. I'll take the bottom 4. I'll take Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, and Briscoe. No personal slights. I do feel like I had Bowman getting through, right? Or excuse me, Briscoe getting through. Yeah. I think this is the end of the line for him. I'm glad I wasn't in the camp that he called out in his post race that said all those people thought we'd be a first round out. I was not in that category, so I'm glad that Briscoe beat the odds, but unfortunately, I'm not sure how he'll do in these next 3 upcoming races. I feel like, from what I remember, Kansas is dominated by Toyota drivers or Kyle Larson. So the Fords, I'm not super bullish on Cindric and Briscoe rather. And then, yeah, I don't know. I guess Briscoe and Burton would be, or Briscoe and Cindric rather, their spot would be like Talladega the following week. So I
Larson's
don't
never
know.
won at Talladega. How about that?
He's number 1 what?
He's never won at Talladega.
Oh, I thought you said he's number 1 as in like the
No.
favorite, and I was like, that doesn't seem.
No.
Yeah, so that's why I think Larson needs to have another good week here this week.
Ridiculously small odds for him this week. Again,
Yep.
ridiculously small odds. All right, so you said a little bit chalky. You're going to go with you said Briscoe, Bowman, Suarez, and Cindric.
Yep.
Quiggs?
There's part of me that wanted to do that, just the guys who are kind of starting below the cut line, take them, but I made a couple swaps. So I'm leaving Briscoe and Suarez down there. I think Suarez is going to be pretty reliant on a good finish at Talladega, and I don't know if he can get that magic going again on a super speedway.
Mhm.
But the two that I'm swapping from above the cut line right now to be out is the guy who you just talked about, which I just don't think he's got the momentum. I think Byron will find his way below the cut line,
Wow.
and I think Joey Logano will move down there.
So you got Byron, Logano, Cindric, and
No, Briscoe and Suarez.
Briscoe and Suarez. Okay, Briscoe and
Yeah,
Suarez. Okay, so you think
I
Cindric?
think Cindric might have
Okay,
some success on the Roval.
okay. Moon.
I think I'm gonna keep Cindric, Suarez, and Bowman out. But I think Briscoe will make it in, and I think Chase is gonna fall out this round. So I have Chase, Cindric, Suarez, and Bowman.
I was close to doing that too.
I got.
I just
make
I
a
think
Chase with the P2 is, I don't know.
I think Chase is going to be a good on Roval in Kansas. He's got a lot of success recently at Kansas.
I think I'm just swapping out Logano for Bowman. I think Logano doesn't make it, and neither does Briscoe, Suarez, or Cindric. And then Bowman goes forward. That's just going to be our picks for. We'll check it as we go into the next round. So we have nothing left to do than to make some picks. And before we do that, I have to talk about DraftKings. Okay, touchdowns, Tutty. Taking it to the house in for six, whatever you call touchdown. One thing's for sure, touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, from special teams or defense, we don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown or how many TDs will be in the game. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet only $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Rubbin, Rubbin. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. So new customers sign up, and Spider and I had done it early in the season. We throw it on some futures and whatnot. So now we're fully invested all the way through Phoenix. So picking the tires. I know nobody's taking this, so I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say I'm taking two drivers. I'm taking Byron and Bowman this week, and I don't think they're popular choices. Nobody had them on theirs, and I might take something as we get a little bit closer to the actual race. But for right now, I'm going to do Byron and Bowman. I think I'm getting pretty good value on both of them. So that's
What's
it.
Bowman's odds? 35 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't mind throwing in something like that. Kansas can get pretty fucking wild, like you said. So I'm throwing it out there. I'm sucking Hendrick Dick this week. Byron and Bowman. Who you got, Spider?
I hate to just keep being the guy that's just chalky.
You're gonna go fucking Larson plus what was it?
I feel like I've hit like 3 tops outright winners this year. So Larson last week for me was massive, and it was short odds. It was a low price. It was plus 300 when the race closed. He's plus 330 this week, and I'm going to do it again. I like Larson to win here at Kansas. If you look at his last 7 races, he's got 5 top 5s. The only person that's got him beat is Denny, who has 6 top 5s in his last 7 races. I said the same thing I'm going to say about Denny. I just feel like he's left a little to be desired. As much as he advanced through when it was looking a little bit in question there for a sec, I do remain a little bit worried about Denny than I do a guy like Kyle Larson, especially coming off a week where they were firing on all cylinders. Dominant driver, dominant race strategy, dominant crew and pit road stops. So I'm going to keep running back that formula, hopefully all the way until November when we win the trophy. So I'm with Larson this week. Other guys I liked is another guy I mentioned previously is Bubba Wallace. He's 18 to 1 right now to win the race. He's plus 230 for a top 5 finish, which I think is kind of intriguing. And then, so the only actual play I have right now on my card will be Larson plus 330. However, I thought it was interesting. Top 10 finishes. If you parlay Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Tyler Reddick, It's even money, which I don't know if that's intriguing to you guys. I think that's pretty good.
I thought you were going to
Um,
say a bigger number than that.
no, it's in. Well, it should probably be, but if you look at the stats, last 7 races, Larson has 5 top 5s. Denny has 6. Tyler Reddick would be the only guy. Actually, he only has 1, which is I guess all right. So maybe I don't like that as much as I did, as I was kind of cooking it up.
I got in that game of trying to parlay top tens earlier this year, and just something always goes wrong.
Yeah,
Like those guys should all finish top 10. Something will happen where they get some sort of penalty, some sort of issue with their car, and you just won't hit it.
maybe you know what I'll do. I'm gonna take Bubba Wallace in Group C. He's plus 300 over Martin
I
Truex,
like
Chris
that.
Buescher, and Brad Keselowski.
I was
Oh, I
just
love that.
I was just looking at that spider. I like that. I actually, yeah, that's good.
Bubba
So-
Wallace to win Group C plus 300. Kyle Larson to win the race plus 330. Those are my picks. Check out DraftKings for more, and check out your app on Sunday morning because they might have another promo. We got one last week, so
Yeah, not to steal it, but I'm adding that to my card.
love it.
The Bubba Wallace play, and then I'm taking Denny to win. I think he's just better than Larson here and has longer odds. And I think he'd love to just get a win down and just clinch his spot and be done with it. And this is his track to do it at. And then my long shot, I'm taking with large Alex Bowman. I look at races based on like the past 4, and he's the 4th in average finishing there. He's got an average finish of 7th, and I don't know. I think he's kind of hot right now. I like him a lot. So Denny, Bowman, and then Bubba to win that Group C.
Am I on my fucking mind? I think I'm taking Bowman plus 3,000 to win a championship.
I don't know about
I
championship.
don't know. Like, is Bowman going to be good in Kansas? Is Bowman going to be good in Talladega? Is Bowman going to be? I mean, I can see this guy. I don't know. Plus 3,000. I mean, the William Byron futures that I have are all like plus 500. So I might jump on that too because it's at plus 800 right now. But I don't know.
I've said it before. I'm not a futures guy, but I just feel like it's way more likely for Alex Bowman to win this race than to win the Cup,
No, yeah, 100%.
and you get better odds on it.
Yeah, that's true.
I
What would you like?
Honestly, I kind of echo what those guys say. The only thing I'm kind of looking at in Group C, I like Buescher more than I like Bubba, just off of what I've seen this year alone. I know Bubba historically that teams run well here, but I don't know. I like Buescher kind of across the board, and then Logano earlier. I think Large said he has 3 wins here, and it's hard to go against Joey Logano really at any time. I feel like if he's got the car, he'll be a factor. So those 2 are sticking out to me.
Joey Logano in Group D is actually kind of intriguing too. He's plus 220 to win over Ty Gibbs, Ross Chastain, and Chase Briscoe.
I like that one honestly better than Group C. Like I think I would probably go Logano in that.
Can you parlay group winners?
Let's see. I'll tell you right now.
We can put together something nice with that.
Whole other wrinkle.
Yep, that's 12 to 1. Now let me add in my top 10s of Larson, Denny, and Reddick. Oh, that's where they cut me off.
Yeah, I don't think you can parlay all that.
Yeah, but you can go crazy on DraftKings, so make sure you get on that app and see what all is possible.
And use code Rubbin. Again, it's $200 in bonus bets. It's a good thing.
Did you survive your touchdown guy this week, Spider?
I did not. So I took Alvin Kamara in our touchdown survivor pool in week 3 because Alvin's a good friend of ours, Large. He's done a lot of stuff. He's came on the show. He's a big ambassador for NASCAR. I thought, you know what? Let me ride with my dogs. He's had an unbelievable season this far, and I think that's unfortunately why I should have faded him. I think everyone in our pool had Alvin Kamara for a lot, like probably like 60% of the people that were still alive took Kamara, and probably would have been a good opportunity to fade the public and pick someone else. But instead, I picked with my heart, and we didn't win. So now next week, I need to get 2 touchdown scorers correct. If you guys have anyone that you feel very strongly about will score a touchdown, please DM me. It's probably going to be like David Montgomery and Kyron Williams is what I'm thinking right now. But this is a NASCAR pick show, so you'll have to go elsewhere for
Just say we'll
football picks.
brainstorm another time.
Yeah.
I'm knocked out. Alrighty, that's it for Rubbin is Racing. We'll be back in the studio next week after Kansas. Enjoy the races, and we'll talk to you guys next week.